Hello internet, my name is Lave and this week I watched Beauty and the Beast, which is Disney's live action remake of one of their animated classics from 1991 I believe. This one is directed by Condon, who's directed quite a lot of films, too many to list here. Now I have to admit I'm not all that familiar with the 1991 film. I did watch it back in the day but I don't really remember it. I think I'm actually more familiar with the 1946 version, La Belle et la Bête, which I watched at uni. So the night before I went to see this version, I actually did some homework and watched the original 1991 film, and I have to admit it's actually a pretty faithful recreation of it. So I know you know the plot, but I'm gonna tell you again anyway. A young prince gets transformed into a beast by an enchantress, along with all of his entourage who are turned into inanimate objects. Years later, a wacky inventor gets captured and held prisoner by the beast, so the inventor's daughter offers herself up as a replacement, and then eventually they fall in love. Now when I say it's a faithful adaptation, I really do mean it. A lot of it is exactly the same, the dialogue is the same, the sets look the same. It is more or less a shot-for-shot remake. Now for some people that's probably a really good thing. If you want to see a live adaptation, I think they've done a really good job at it. But then on the flip side of that argument, I can understand why some people might criticise it for really standing on the shoulders of another film that did it really well anyway. I'm sort of somewhere in between. I thought it was okay. Having watched the original animation the night before, it did feel like I was watching the same movie, but the filmmakers have done some cosmetic changes. It doesn't change the overall story or the overall outcome, and some of the additional footage does aim to give the characters more development, particularly with regards to Belle and the Beast parents, which actually I thought was a good idea because it forms part of the reason why they begin to fall in love, and that's where the connection comes from. And that just meant that I really bought into the romance. I thought they got that side of the film right, so praises to the filmmakers for that. Performance wise, I thought Emma Watson was really good as Belle. I wasn't entirely convinced by her singing, but I don't think it's an amazing performance. I do think that you switch her out and it still would have worked. I always think of her as Hermione Granger, and I'm sure that forms part of the reason why they cast her in the first place, to get the fans of Harry Potter to come over to this. And I do think her acting has immensely improved since the first Harry Potter. I can't help but think of, "Hello Harry, my name is Hermione Granger," the way she overpronounced everything. But she was a kid then, I know, and she is good in this. I thought she looked the part as well. I also really liked Dan Stevens as the Beast. I thought his performance came through in the performance capture. I wasn't overly amazed with the character design of the Beast. He does look different. I would have preferred it if he had his tusks. But then it could have been a design choice to make him look more like the Beast from the 1946 film. But easily out of all of the human performances, I thought Luke Evans stole the show as Gaston. It really looked like he was having fun in the role, but then that's not to say he wasn't quite intimidating towards the end of the film. And I don't think it's even worth mentioning the controversy surrounding Josh Gad's performance as LeFou and the fact that he's gay in it. It's ridiculous. They're making a mountain out of a molehill. I thought it was a really good representation, very in line with the Disney animation. I was disappointed, however, not to see an Easter egg dropped in with regards to another Disney character that he voiced that didn't make it into the film, which was a shame. And then of course you've got all of the various objects that have been brought to life. I thought they were all good. I think the standouts for me were Ewan McGregor as Lumiere. I really liked the banter between him and Sarah McKellen's Cogsworth. And then Emma Thompson turns up as Mrs. Potts. I wasn't too crazy about her Cockney accent in it. I thought it was a bit OTT. Tale of our time. With regards to the CG, I thought the animated characters is where it was at its best. There were a couple of scenes where the camera pulls out of what's obviously a set scene and the rest of the background is CG. I wasn't entirely convinced by that, but overall I think the CG is good. And the same thing with the production design. When it needs to be really lavish and grand, it is, but there were a couple of moments where I thought it did look like sets. But overall I thought the film was good, nothing more than that. I think they accomplished what they set out to do and make a decent family film. So that's my thoughts on Beauty and the Beast, and pause the video if you want to take a closer look at my enjoyment tracker now. I don't think this film was as good as Jon Favreau's The Jungle Book. I think that film had much more spectacle and was more fun, but I do think it was better than, say, Cinderella and Maleficent. I do think some of the magic is there, maybe with not all of the sparkle, but overall, as I say, a decent family film. I'd be lying if I said that I wasn't humming when a lot of the musical scores started. So thanks very much for watching my review of Beauty and the Beast. I really do appreciate it. If you can, give this video a like and don't forget to share the Lave. Tale of our time. Court blimey, governor, look at that beast. Subscribe.